What's up, everybody? John Arapoli here with MyMMANews, and today's guest is fighting Johnny Soto at Bellator 276 on March 12th. That fight is in St. Louis, Missouri. Looking forward to talking to today's guest, Cody Law. Cody, big fan of the background there. I'm loving seeing this new place as you keep getting more settled into it there. So thanks for being here, taking the time out of your day to be here.
There we go. Thanks for having me, man. I'm trying to show you around, but it's in reverse, so I'm never good at doing that stuff, but slowly decorating, adding piece by piece. I usually have my mom come out every week with me and help me out.
Yeah, man, it looks great. It looks fantastic there. And I know the mother's touch always does it, too. I know for the stuff I have hanging up in my studio, too, my mom played a big part in it there. But I know instead of talking about interior decorations here, everybody is going to be tuning into this to hear about the fight. So we'll start with training camp. I know you're starting to wrap things up here. It's a hectic time of the year for you as you put the final touches on camp. So just how's camp been going?
Good, man. It's kind of always the same. I feel like I'm always in camp, but I would say this camp's been my hardest camp. I feel like I've had the most difficult days this camp, which I think will be a good thing in the end. Sometimes I've noticed I get in a routine where I'm always kind of winning and always doing really good. You're always happy, but maybe that's not the best. Where this time around, I've had more difficult days, difficult situations, and I think it's gonna make me extra prepared for this guy. So when I'm in there, I'm gonna be a little more sharp than I have been in the past.
So from talking to you now, I mean, we've been doing interviews since before you even had your first fight with Bellator, and you always just talk about how every day when you go to camp or go to practice, you're just trying to improve and get better and sharpen your skills. For this camp, I know you're mentioning there, right? You had a lot of tough days in the gym and whatnot. Where's been the biggest improvement that you saw during this camp so far?
Biggest improvement? I'm going to keep that to myself until after the fight, but I have some improvements that I think I would like to show in the fight that could be surprising. So after the fight, we'll talk about it, especially if it goes the way I think it's going to go.
All right, we'll save the conversation for then. But one thing I do want to ask you about, right, with this upcoming fight, we saw a lot of, obviously, wrestling and grappling in the first few fights that you had. Of course, that's your background, too, as you're a great wrestler. Well, the last two fights, we've seen the improvement on the feet. You haven't even had to go to that. I still remember back when I was in college, I had a Spanish professor because we had to take 4 years of Spanish for my major, and he used to always say, if you don't use it, you lose it. Since we haven't seen the wrestling, I want to ask that same question. Do you lose it when we don't see it? No, obviously you're practicing in the gym, but just how's the wrestling been going? And I'm sure you're probably still sharpening those tools, even though we haven't seen it in your last few fights.
Yeah, I wrestle every single round. Every sparring session, at least once a round, I try to get a takedown and ride and stay on top and improve. And every week we wrestle and we grapple, we do jiu-jitsu. I'm always getting better at wrestling. It's just, just two fights where I haven't really had to use it. If we've gotten them out of there before, you need to use it, but it's still getting better. I'm not losing it.
And you know what, speaking of wrestling too, I want to actually ask, I saw this on your, I believe it was your Facebook or your Instagram, maybe all your social medias, but your college wrestling coach, Pat Pecora, just named Coach of the Year for the sub-regional that Pitt Johnstown is in. Obviously, state of Pennsylvania, well known for wrestling, a lot of high-level talent. I didn't realize when I clicked on the article and you shared it there, he's been at the helm there, what did it say, 46 seasons or something like that? Like, what is it about him that he's been so successful and has had the career that he's had this honor so many different times and has produced so many great talent there at Pitt Johnstown?
Man, I don't know exactly. I guess if you knew, it would be a little bit. Wouldn't be as special, right? Like everyone could do it, but there's just some intangible about him. He's been there for his whole life since he was like, just a young, maybe 21 or 22-year-old. Right out of college, he went straight into UPJ coaching, and I don't know. My experience with him was that less about technique and more about personal relationships. He believed in me and made me believe in myself more based on how much he believed in me. And all the guys that come through the program, he acts as a father figure. It's like having a second father. And so you build more than just it's more than just a coach wrestler relationship. And I think he just gets the best out of people. He knows how to treat each individual person to get the most out of them, and it shows. He's the winningest coach in NCAA history, and now this is his 20th year. He's been the coach of the year. So there's nobody better, Coach Pecora.
Now, is he supportive with the whole MMA thing? I know, like, when I talked to Bo Nickel over the summer, he was saying with Cael Sanderson there that he was a little bit, pushing back on Bo a little bit for going the whole MMA route there. What was obviously he like when, you said you wanted to do MMA and whatnot? Has he been supportive of you? I know you probably still have a relationship with him.
Yeah, of course, of course. I call him before every fight and call him after every fight. I know at first I'm sure he had his reservations, because he loves me like a son, so he doesn't want to see anything, bad happen to me, and that can happen in this sport. But once I think he knew that I was going to be able to handle myself in there, he's going to support me whatever I do, and he loves fighting, man. He's old school.
Since you guys have this great relationship, do you still come back to Pitt Johnstown and wrestle with the guys in the room and everything just to kind of come in and get a workout in when you're back home?
Yeah. After my last fight, I was in there for several sessions actually, and believe it or not, the Division II Nationals are in St. Louis on March 12th, the same night as my fight, 15 minutes apart. So hopefully I'll see them after the fight.
Yeah, I was just going to say, being the wrestling fan that you, of course, are, and this is a big time of the year for anybody, especially being in Pennsylvania, too. Like, all the district championships are starting to wrap up. We're going to start getting into regionals and states. And then, of course, at the college level, March Madness, too, right around the corner. Do you plan on, watching as much of it as you can? And being that, obviously, your coach and Pitt Johnstown are going to be in St. Louis, do you plan on stopping by and getting to experience a lot of that, or take in as much of the wrestling scene that we're going to experience the next couple weeks here?
Yeah. I still follow wrestling a lot. Our team, UPJ, just won the conference, the regional tournament, and they qualified, I think, 6 or 7 guys to nationals. So I was going to go to nationals if I didn't have a fight around this time. But now I'm fighting the same night as nationals, obviously. So hopefully my fight's later in the night and they can all finish and come watch me fight. But one way or another, hopefully after my fight, after their nationals, we can all meet up in St. Louis and celebrate a little bit that night.
So let's get back into the fight here a little bit. Just tell us about your opponent and what you've seen out of him so far. I know you're not the biggest on necessarily self-scouting, but I know as you do get bigger and bigger here, you are starting to slowly, do a little bit of a scouting report here. What have you seen out of your opponent so far?
Yeah, he looks like a good matchup for me. He's kind of flat-footed and overhand right, and shoots a shot from kind of far away and tries to drive it to the fence. And seems like his game is he wants to be on top, which is a great matchup for me, I think. I don't know. It'll be fun. I like guys that don't move too much because it gives me a little bit more to work with. And, I think a little bit of someone trying to wrestle me will be a different look too. So I'm excited.
And let's do a little ATT check-in here because one of your teammates, Johnny Eblin, will be fighting on the same card as you. Big opportunity for him if he gets a win. I mean, I would assume most likely a title shot's next for him. Just how happy are you to see what he's accomplished so far and obviously have this big opportunity now in front of him here?
Yeah, dude, Johnny's getting better. Like every week he's better. So I think he's going to win this one, of course, and I would assume he'll fight for the belt next. And I believe in him, man. I think he can be the champ. So we'll see. But it's exciting to be able to fight on the same card as him. And Roman Ferraldo is also an ATT guy who's fighting with us as well.
And another ATT guy, another Pittsburgh guy too, Dalton Ross. He just fought recently, picked up a victory. Lots, great things on the horizon for him too as an undefeated prospect. Just how excited are you for all the success he's been having recently, of course, coming off that big win there. And he's kind of in the driver's seat now too there at the middleweight division too. A lot of big matchups going to be on the horizon for him these next few months here.
Yeah, Dalton's doing great, man. He's another guy, just keeps improving. And every fight, none of them are really competitive or close. He's kind of cruising through these guys. So I'm excited to see where he's headed to here in the next year or so.
And how about a big shock or two from a couple of days ago, Austin Vanderford? That had a lot of people shocked. A lot of people were picking him to win that fight. Obviously, didn't last long. Gegard Mousasi keeps the title there. Just want to get your thoughts on that matchup. And I'm sure you were probably just as shocked as MMA Twitter was after the fight because nobody saw that fight ending the way how that ended.
Yeah. I mean, I was bummed. I like Austin a lot. He's a friend of mine. And that's the sport. I mean, it's a crazy sport. Austin's only had 11 fights, I think. That was his 12th fight. Mousasi's had 50-some fights. And I don't know. I've seen a lot of negativity about him on the internet and stuff, and that's MMA fans for you. You know, the same people who have never been in there or would never get in there are the first people to say something negative. But Austin's an amazing fighter, and I have no doubt that he'll be back in the title picture really, really soon, and he'll learn from this experience and be a better fighter from it. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but he'll learn from it and he'll be back better.
And before I ask you this next question about another ATT teammate, I did want to ask you about this. I know we talked extensively off air about this. We were talking a lot about like the mental side of sports and whatnot. Obviously, you said it right there. I mean, the internet trolls can be brutal sometimes, and everybody that's cheering for you, as soon as something bad happens, they have no problem booing you and everything else and making life a living hell. Just, you know, being in the sport, you know, you're used to competing in like an individual sport your whole entire life. Just how important, you know, is that whole mental side of things in a sport like this, dealing with all these, you know, different things that go into a fight, dealing with the internet trolls, the media obligations. It's a very tough thing to be an athlete in a sport that's an individual sport like this.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more important than the physical side, personally, especially coming from wrestling. Wrestling was very similar. It's, I think, much more mental than it is physical. But you just learn how to deal with things over time. You know, the more you've done it, the more experience you have, the more you're able to block things out. You know, the same things that would bother you or would bother me maybe 10 years ago, now I haven't thought about it in 5 years. You know, you just grow up and block things out. The more you can be laser focused and, you know, that horse blinders saying, the better, you know, and just laser focus.
All right, Cody, two last things for you. One is going to be this final ATT check-in here with you. Of course, your teammate Jorge Masvidal fighting this weekend against Colby Covington. Bad blood, tension, everything that sells a big pay-per-view. It's all going into this one. It's really being hyped up. Just give us your thoughts on this matchup. I know you're going to predict Jorge to win. He's a friend of yours, a great teammate of yours, but just talk about the matchup here a little bit.
I mean, from an outsider looking in, it's an amazing fight, right? I watched the countdown this morning for it, and I don't know if you've seen that yet or not, but I mean, I can't see how this doesn't sell crazy pay-per-views. It's so exciting. Personally, I hope George knocks him out in the first minute. So we'll see. I think George is going to have a great performance for this one.
And we're looking forward to seeing that. And now one last thing here, you know, being friends on social media, seeing a lot of your posts, you were a big fan of Tom Brady. I'm also a big fan of Tom Brady. He just obviously retired, maybe about a month ago or so now. Just your thoughts on the retirement and what he's done for the sport of football and also the world, too. I mean, he's one hell of an athlete, really turned it on its axis there.
Yeah, man, I was sad for like the whole day. Felt kind of depressed, you know, because I've been watching him since I was a little kid. I started out hating him, you know, because he beat the Steelers when I was young. I really wanted the Steelers to win, and he would always beat them. But as I got older, I started to respect him, and now like he's an inspiration for me, you know, like getting to watch everything he's done and then see these like awesome videos that have come out, like the series Man in the Arena. That's been unbelievable. Just as an adult, watching what he's done and the way he approaches the sport, his mindset, how he's grown, you know, he's done a lot for me. You know, I really hope I get to meet him someday. I was really lucky this year. I went to my first ever NFL game with my mom out here in Tampa Bay, and I got to watch him play the season opener against the Cowboys, luckily right before he retired. So I'm thankful for that.
So obviously I know you're a Pittsburgh guy there. You said all the hard memories that he brought up for you, but I have to say if you could want to be one person in life, it has to be Tom Brady, I would imagine, right? Obviously successful athlete, the model wife, great family. I mean, that's the life that anybody would want. I know you're an athlete too yourself. Just just talk about that, seeing all that he's accomplished too. Just like, is that something that you would want to have one day? Just that luxurious lifestyle of a superstar like that.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? That's what we're working towards. He's the most successful athlete in his sport. Like he's the greatest of all time in his sport. Money's not a worry for him anymore. Beautiful wife, beautiful family. You know, he's got lots of brands. He's sponsored by IWC. Like his life is pretty good. So that's what I'm working for is something pretty similar.
And since you brought up being a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I don't know if you could probably see it over here up to the side here. I got my Green Bay Packers cheese head, the Packers hat there. Do you still have nightmares over the Super Bowl from a couple years ago?
Yeah, I'm over it. I'm also a Cowboys fan. I'm kind of like a weird anomaly where I like the Steelers and the Cowboys. So I have more nightmares over the Cowboys than the Steelers because at least the Steelers have won Super Bowls in my lifetime. The Cowboys have not won a Super Bowl since I was born. So that's pretty tough.
Yeah, I see the hardest thing being a Packers fan is obviously it's been great having, good teams throughout the years here, but just only having that one championship that I got to witness because when Brett Favre won his, I think I was maybe like 3 years old, 4 years old, so I obviously don't remember that. But when Green Bay won with Aaron Rodgers, I thought, oh, this is going to be awesome. They're going to have this dynasty. They're going to win so many. Obviously, that was the only one that's been a tough one to watch. But are you an Aaron Rodgers fan by any chance? And a lot of people have a lot of respect for him, or other people really hate him. Are you? You are?
Yeah, I am. Especially this year, I really became an Aaron Rodgers fan. With the way I don't know, like I started listening to his interviews when he got into that whole vaccine, whatever controversy, and I started listening to him talk. I was like, I like this guy. I was pulling for him once the Cowboys got knocked out and Tom Brady got knocked out, but he got knocked out too.
It is unfortunate. I agree. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's a very deep thinker, a lot of good insights on a lot of different topics, and I would recommend any Aaron Rodgers interview ever. I've watched them all for the past, maybe 8 years. I don't think I've missed a single one. He's fantastic. But anyway, Cody, one last thing before we roll out today. Social media, management, sponsors, anybody you got to give a shout out to? Floor is yours.
Yeah. Follow me on Instagram, Cody Law MMA, and I'll have all my sponsors shouted out for the fight. So I've got quite a bit. It's a little bit long, so we'll just leave it at that. And thanks for the time, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Cody, thanks so much for all the time here today. Really appreciate it, as always. Looking forward to this upcoming fight again. March 12th, Cody fights Johnny Soto at Bellator 276. So make sure you guys check out that fight. Make sure you're checking out MyMMANews.com all 7 days of the week for the great content that we have that comes out there. Also, social media pages. Go to our social media pages. Give us a like and a follow. You want to find me on Instagram or Twitter, I'm at John Eric Poli. We'll see you later, everybody.